I grew up in a Roman Catholic parish in Southwest Philadelphia, Good Shepherd Parish. As a part of a weekly schedule, we attended a 9 o'clock service, which was the children's service. And on the Thursday before that children's service, we rehearsed the hymns for that service. So the entire school would rehearse the hymns. And it was, actually was a very exciting thing to have all of those children's voices singing in a church, and singing mostly the very familiar old Roman Catholic hymns, but some of which were just really beautiful. And it turned out that one Thursday, the organist who was supposed to play for the rehearsal was ill. And they thought, well, since William Trafka plays the piano, he certainly can play the organ. So I was engaged to play the organ for that rehearsal. And I must say, I really caught the bug. I loved the organ. I loved its sound. I loved the way that it sustained. I loved the way that it led hymns, for example. It had a majestic quality to it. So I really wanted to study and learn how to play the organ well. I actually eventually ended up accompanying the boys' choir and got to know a great deal of choral repertoire. I'll never forget my father, knowing that I was greatly interested in choral music, picked up a recording of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. And one of the pieces that was on that particular recording was Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring. This very beautiful ritornello that it begins with, an orchestral ritornello. And then the most amazing thing happened. The choir came in, and the choir sang this beautiful chorale melody. And I thought, oh my God, that's what it's all about. That's what sacred music is all about. At that moment, I found that God can exist in music. And there it was. And it was sung by the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, a huge choir which probably would not have sung it back in the 18th century. But regardless, it was a very beautiful event to have the orchestral introduction and then the choral sound. And that is just something I've just never forgotten. And it's a piece, of course, that I do with my choirs at least once or twice a year. We sing it for weddings, many times for funerals, so forth and so on. It's a very popular piece, but for a very good reason. So that's how I actually got started. I found that choral music was just so beautiful. Today, I think it was really wonderful that my final Sunday is the Feast of All Saints. And because the great composers, particularly the great composers that I love within the Anglican style of music, Herbert Howells, Ralph Vaughan Williams, Charles Villiers Stanford, and so many others, they're a part of the communion of saints to which we belong. And when we sing this music, they actually reveal themselves to us. Who they are, what their vision of God is, through this incredibly beautiful music. And so we're connected. We then have a connection to them by singing it and by offering it. And I've always told the choir, it's not about you. It's not about us and performing and all that, because it's not performing. It really has nothing to do with that. We're vehicles through which a saint literally is speaking to the congregation and revealing something that they know about the presence of God that I feel is very, very inherent in the music. And so that's why I do it. It's hard to put into words of how that happens and what it's like when that happens and if that really happens. I feel it happens, and when I look into the faces of singers, I feel that it happens as well.
Now, I have this wonderful and terrible responsibility. Bill Trafka, would you come? After over 3 decades of incredible service and music, it's not like we're saying goodbye to you forever, but we are bidding farewell to your service as our choir director, as our organist. Mm-hmm. Bill, I struggled at 9 o'clock, and I'll struggle now, and I'll struggle at 5 to find the words that describe just how much you have meant and how much you mean to this congregation. You have introduced us to a closer relationship with God through the music you have provided, and it's your faithfulness and your example that has been so important to so many of us. You have the most devoted choir in the world, and choristers who love and appreciate and respect you. We're going to have a wonderful farewell for you after this service, but then we'll also have Evensong tonight where we're singing some of your work, and we'll have another event. So we want people to come to all of that.
I just would like to say that I've never really found it easy to say goodbye. And I think that's because I inherited that from my mother. And as I look over to where Mary Abraham is right now, I see my mother, because Mary Abraham always welcomed my mother here at St. Bartholomew's Church and helped her worship here. And I'm so grateful for that. But my mother found it impossible to say goodbye. And some of you in this room may have witnessed phone conversations I had with my mother, which would end with, bye-bye, me too, I will. Bye-bye, me too, I will. And and on her end, she would say, goodbye, I love you, and anything that I can do, please give me a call. And this would be like a litany that would take sometimes 5 minutes until I finally would just have, but that's all to say that really there is no such thing as goodbye. And we as people of faith know that because we are part of the communion of saints, which we celebrate today. We're part of an association that is bound together by the love of God. So we never get to say goodbye because we will always be associated with one another, either here or elsewhere in eternity. So I thank you for that. I thank you for being a part of that communion of saints, and we shall always be in touch. And also, I would love to say that there is no poet, there is no author, there is no wordsmith that could possibly express the depth of gratitude that I feel right now for everything that you have done to help me and the support that you've given me, for the clergy of this church, Bishop Wolf, and particularly my colleague Lynn Sanders, and these incredible choir members who have taught me not only about singing, but they've taught me about love, because it is because love is in their hearts that they sing as beautifully as they do. So, thank you.